Can I ask you a quick question?
Please.
You have a very technical problem with state law, which frankly has been seconded by the Bureau of Prisons, Bureau of Corrections. And we are very likely to be in touch with you almost immediately to talk about an amendment. We've already mentioned it to the Speaker of the House, who's here tonight, and I'm very glad to see her as well. But please, if there's a problem with what we ask you to do, we would like to know about it real soon. So we'll be back in touch soon, and we appreciate you coming here tonight.
Absolutely. I hope to hear from you and committed to working. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Hi, my name is Matthew Hoyt. I live in Westbrook. I'm here today as the spouse of a permanent resident green card holder and as a former U.S. Peace Corps volunteer. My partner and I met while I was serving in his country in West Africa from 2017 to 2019. While living together in his country from 2019 to 2020, we had to be fearful that authorities could confront us or be used against us by non-authorities, as homosexuality is criminalized there and can result in a prison sentence of up to 3 years. Obviously, living in fear of authorities for committing a crime that has no moral consequence is not a sustainable way to live. So we applied for his visa to be able to transition to living here in Maine, where I grew up. After waiting nearly 2 years for his visa to be approved, we got married and we reapplied for his green card, which we received a year later. This was all in limbo. We had no way of knowing what our future would be while waiting for these approvals. While we aren't as acutely targeted for our sexual orientation here, I'm afraid he's traded one targeted trait for another. With the cooperation between Cumberland County and ICE, we have to live in fear once again of the authorities that are meant to protect us. If we were targeted in a crime, I would not be comfortable calling the police out of fear that they may interpret his dark skin and locks or accented English as a reason to have ICE investigate him. I also wouldn't put it past other Americans to use an ICE-friendly police force to intimidate communities that they are not fond of. The United States is not exceptional and has proven itself to abuse authority time and time again. Immigrants in this country, regardless of their immigration status, make our communities stronger and safer. They allow for cultural exchange, contribute to the economy, and they are no different than any other American trying to live good lives and provide for themselves and their families. Cooperating with ICE creates fear and distrust and will continue making already vulnerable groups feel unsafe. As an organization, they are bringing violence to communities all over this country, and Cumberland County needs to take a stand against their tyrannical operations. This is why I urge the Commission to vote against contracts with ICE. Thank you.
I would remind people that applauding and outbursts are part of our policy that we don't allow, so please adhere to it.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Boggs. I live on Edgeworth Avenue in Portland. I spoke previously at another meeting. I shared my story about moving to the United States from the Philippines when I was 2. I became a citizen in 2012. And I've been here a little while tonight, and I gotta tell you, I love this. I love how orderly this is, and all the rules, and the conversation, and democracy takes patience, right? And listening, and don't yell at me. I really kind of enjoyed being here, listening to the presentations, listening to you make amendments, make motions. I mean, it's encouraging to me. That's not what I'm seeing now around this country, around our country. It's no secret what's happening. There is no due process often. There's fear, there's terror. People are not being lawfully arrested. Citizens are being detained without legal representation, not even a phone call to their family for days. Ministers, journalists getting beaten up. That's really happening. This is not a movie. And I'd like to ask you tonight, what makes Maine so special? Because we're small? Because we only have so many reps in Congress? I want you to use your imagination and fast forward to January, to spring, to summer. What's happening in Portland then? One parent outside of a school, 5 parents outside of a school, citizens like me who can't get to their paperwork, which I've never carried, by the way. If our county continues to support ICE and keeps taking their money, then we are asking to be part of this problem. We're asking for chaos to come to our doorstep. Please do what you can to do the right thing. It's a contract. It can be changed. Let's do that with care and within the reality that we are all living in today. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Good evening. My name is Rodrigo Arcevar, a resident of Cape Elizabeth. I'm the son of an immigrant. I'm a proud U.S. citizen and a proud Mexican American. I stand here to ask you commissioners to vote to amend the contract to restrict the use of Cumberland County Jail for immigration detainees or end the contract outright. ICE has rounded people without regard to any immediate due process, even violently detaining U.S. citizens. They openly admit in court proceedings to racial profiling tactics, and reports document abuse of all kinds. They have ripped families apart and have made countless civil rights violations. Many of those people grabbed are not criminals. Many are pillars of their community. They are hardworking and only want to provide for their family. We know very little of the detainees transferred to the county jail and the strength of the cases against them. As the sheriff just mentioned, he presumes, without verification, lawful detentions. What we do know is that these detainees are mostly from other states. We know that in general, a lot of detainees were and are being illegally detained. We know that in general, the administration has abused their powers to cruelly detain people indiscriminately, including legal residents and temporarily U.S. residents. To continue to allow the use of Cumberland County in any capacity for these purposes is to be complicit in these cruel and illegal tactics. I personally feel devastated at the prospect of this contract maintaining as is, knowing that only by the grace of God do I have the privilege to be an American. Whenever I see these detainees violently snatched, crying for their loved ones, I see myself in them under different circumstances. With a broken heart, I urge you to vote to have the contract amended to restrict the use of the jail for these purposes or cancel the contract altogether if amendment is not possible. To Commissioner Smith, who represents me in my town, I have read you are welcoming of these changes, and I thank you for your support. And I encourage your colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Gordon and Commissioners. My name is Marfine Shan, and I live on Ashmont Street in Portland. I am the son of Cambodian refugees, and I've had the privilege of serving as an at-large charter commissioner for the city of Portland, and just wrapped up 5 years on Portland's planning board, so I'm coming out of retirement here before you all. But I want to urge you all to terminate Cumberland County's contract with ICE. This contract links our county jail, by extension our community, to an agency that serves under a president who has frankly gone off the rails and has disregarded nearly every safeguard that protects the rule of law, due process rights, and democracy. It also connects this contract to a national immigration detention system that has separated families, strips individuals of their dignity, and undermines the trust between immigrant communities and local government. Detention is not just a logistical or financial question, it's a moral one. When people are held hundreds, maybe even thousands of miles from their families with limited access to counsel, we risk repeating the very injustices our communities were built to oppose. Maine has long prided itself on being a welcoming place, a place where fairness and compassion matter. Continuing the contract contradicts those values. That said, I understand that some community members have expressed concern about what happens next. If the county ends the contract, ICE will likely send detainees to private prisons or out-of-state facilities where due process and access to counsel are even harder to secure. That is a real concern, and it speaks to the broader failures of our federal system. If, and only if, the Commission cannot reach full consensus to terminate the contract, I urge you to take a strong interim step. Impose clear and enforceable conditions on ICE, requiring guaranteed access to legal counsel, translation services, and communication with family. Establish transparent public reporting and oversight so the community can see who is being detained, for how long and under what conditions. Refuse the displacement and relocation of immigrants from other states so that we are not complicit with separating families from out of state. And finally, coordinate with other Maine counties and counties across the country to align on human rights standards and resist being used as part of a nationwide deportation machine. Ending this contract, or at the very least conditioning it, sends a message about who we are as Mainers. It says we will not profit from detention, we will not allow our institutions to become tools of cruelty, and we will stand up for fairness, for justice, and for the dignity of every person.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joan Murray. I'm from Falmouth. I'm here because of my faith, and I'm here to say that ICE doesn't arrest people who look like me, which is why I need to stand here and tell you that it is not okay for them to arrest people who don't look like me without due process and to detain them, in my mind, illegally. And for us in Maine and in Cumberland County to cooperate with something that is immoral and illegal and anti-democratic is just not okay. And I just need to use my voice to say that. I'm an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, and my faith tells me that all people deserve dignity and respect, and no matter what they've done or not done. I mean, people need to take responsibility for things that they have done, but everyone needs to be treated with fairness, with dignity. We are a country that's democratic. We are not an authoritarian country yet, but we are on that path, and this is very, very dangerous. I urge you with all my heart to not to continue the contract with ICE because we're supporting authoritarianism and the takeover of a country. And while I am safe now, I won't always be safe. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lesperance, and I live in District 3, and I'm here basically for the same reason as this woman. We need to stay human. You're doing a beautiful job in service, and I thank you for it because it's very difficult to get into the weeds of all the details and things that you have to do with deeds and whatnot. The legality is something you have to deal with. The money is something you have to deal with. But the bottom line that should cut through everything is that you need to be a person with a heart. And you need to know that, yes, people are being grabbed. I know of a couple myself. I'm trying very hard to go out right now in my neighbors to go and shop for them because they're scared. And that should give us great shame. I think Maine is unique in that we have integrity, We still have integrity, we're gonna hold on to it, and we're gonna get creative, but we're gonna make a line in the sand of what we're about to say no to. And right now, that is ICE. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Jordan Singh. I live in Portland. I'm saddened to see my county collaborate with an organization that brazenly ignores the Equal Protections Clause of the 14th Amendment, detaining law-abiding residents, going so far as to detain Officer John Luke Evans. ICE is not a law enforcement agency. Law enforcement doesn't disappear community members like a parent dropping off their child at Talbot Elementary. Law enforcement doesn't rely on masks and unmarked vehicles. Law enforcement requires the trust of the community to solidify its legitimacy. And by collaborating with ICE, you are shredding that trust, showing you are more willing to aid a force of extrajudicial violence than your own constituencies and communities. I urge you to end this collaboration. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Sam Davies. I'm a lifelong Falmouth resident, and what I wish to say has been said, and I'm sure will be said by others far more eloquently and far more effectively. So I will simply urge the members of the board to, well, use their eyes and ears, to look at the assembled people here tonight, to hear the crowd outside. We are vehemently opposed to the county's cooperation with ICE because it is nothing short of a moral failing for our community to be involved in any way, shape, or form with that organization, which has, as has been said again, tearing families apart, and will do so well into the future if we continue to allow them to do so. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioner Gordon and esteemed commissioners from around the county and Sheriff Joyce. My name is Grayson Luckner, a resident of Portland. I'm a state legislator and I'm here as a concerned citizen tonight. Deeply concerned about the character of our community, and I really urge you to do the right thing and cancel the contract. I know there's been a lot of discussion about where state law is, and that's where I come in, and that's where some of my colleagues here are going to come in and make sure that we support you in this. But I just have a couple remarks. You know, these aren't criminal detainees. These are not people who are being charged with a crime. They do not have access to due process. You've heard this repeatedly. These are not typical prisoners as defined in Maine statute, which is also, there are conflicting statutes about whom the jail must take. So these are people without access to due process. It's a dragnet operation that's catching our own employees. If you recall, a few months ago, one of our own jail's employees was taken up. It was not just one employee, if I'm correct, but actually several potential employees were also snatched up in that. So they are undermining our county's public safety, our ability to fulfill our role, or, you know, and you are all aware that our county jails are overflowing with people experiencing homelessness. They are de facto homeless shelters. They are de facto mental health providers. And we need to be addressing these problems. And we can't be furthermore overflowing and burdening our jails with people who haven't committed a crime, who are not going to be offered the justice of even knowing with a trial if they'll have a conviction or not. So you've also, I hope, all seen Congresswoman Pingree letter in support of ending this contract. And I think the county, the state is gonna be with you. I'll certainly pledge my support to make sure that the county gets the funding and the resources that it needs to provide the services that you all provide, that our residents rely on. So we have to do a better job on that. And, these are times that require courage, and I thank you for serving the residents of Cumberland County with courage in these times, and I urge you to end the contract, and thank you for your time.
Excuse me. I believe you're on the Criminal Justice Committee.
Indeed.
And they are in charge of the Maine Department of Corrections.
We are indeed.
That's where the issue lies.
And if I may reply.
Sure.
I think there are several conflicting statutes that we're looking at that certainly could use some clarification. One statute in Title 30 defines prisoners as people who are awaiting trial. So there's a real gray area here that we're operating in, and I think we can make a strong stance by voting to end the contract, and we will sort this out.
I would ask you to look at the standard P32.
Yeah.
Grayson, can I mention that we did not sit idly by trying to resolve this issue. The sheriff has been pretty clear that his understanding of the legal situation, this is an understanding he shares with others, by the way, other sheriffs who I've talked to, is that he has no discretion to refuse the admission of someone who is who has been detained or arrested by a federal law enforcement authority. I, much to my distaste, have looked at the same issues, and I think he's right. So we need a change in the law, in my opinion. I just point that out to you.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty, is what I would say to that, and I hope you do the right thing here.
I am Judah Lehman. I live in Scarborough, and I am a 14-year-old freshman going to Baxter Academy High School. I leave you with 3 questions that you need not answer tonight. Is it lawful to drive around in unmarked vehicles, fear-mongering our fellow immigrant neighbors? Is it lawful to not allow lawyers to see their clients, which is, in fact, against a lot of laws? And is it lawful to overcrowd or already crowded jails with more people, essentially just stuffing them in like some Thanksgiving turkey? Thank you.
My name is Scott Vonnegut. I am a resident of Portland, Maine. Commissioners, I urge you to vote to discontinue the country's contract with ICE and stop allowing the Cumberland County Jail to serve as an ICE holding facility. You've seen the coverage of the ICE raids in Chicago, Boston, and throughout the country. Women being hurtled to the pavement, unclothed children chased into the streets at night, a woman surrounded by unidentified masked men and whisked away in an unmarked black van to not be heard of for weeks. These violent acts against people in our streets, most of whom are not criminals, many of whom are here legally, cannot be condoned by you by voting to continue our county's contract with ICE. This violence by ICE is not only an affront to the average citizen, but also to the judges throughout the country who have ruled their actions illegal. Please uphold these judges' rulings, listen to your constituency and your conscience, and stop enabling ICE to run roughshod over human decency and the Constitution. And if there's any issue about the legality of the federal government using their powers to enforce You know, these violent acts by the use of ICE in your facilities, the jail facilities, take it to court. Make this a federal case and make it stand. We can't be pushed around by the federal government to do these abominable acts.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brendan McQuaid. I live in Portland. I chair the Sociology and Criminology Department at USM, and I organize with No Ice for Me. I speak tonight not from my employer, but from the same principles that guide my teaching, scholarship, and commitments to this community. I want to begin by naming what's happening here. People are gathering again and again, not out of hatred or resentment, but out of solidarity with everyone who calls Maine home and everyone who would like to. We are here to reject the cynical politics that make authoritarianism possible. We are not obstacles to each other's freedom, we are the realization of it. And freedom is not something handed down by institutions, it's something that we make real with and for each other. So what you are witnessing tonight is not just opposition, it's the living formation of a different Maine, a Maine where safety is rooted in solidarity, not in suspicion, where democracy is not something managed for us, but something practiced among us. So cooperation with ICE is the opposite of that vision. It's part of a system, crimmigration, that fuses criminal punishment with deportation and reduces human beings to administrative problems, not people to be in relation with. So at a time when the world is facing a global migrant and refugee crisis driven by war, climate collapse, and economic dispossession, those in power are choosing not to reckon with the causes, but to dehumanize the people living with its consequences. This is how someone like Aidi Mbilia, raised in Portland since early childhood, can serve a misdemeanor defense, complete it, and still be detained indefinitely in the jail. That is not a bureaucratic failure. It is an intentional refusal to see migrants and refugees as full human beings, and it is preparing the public to accept ever more exclusion, dispossession, and abandonment. And this is precisely this illusion that some can be safe while others are disappeared, that is propelling this country towards authoritarianism. We all can feel it. We know what time it is. Claiming neutrality now is not neutral. It strengthens the drift towards a fascist future. So I want to say this with clarity and Claire. This is not a warning, and it's an invitation. You have an opportunity right now to make the gears of the deportation machine grind in Cumberland County, to affirm that freedom in Maine is not reserved for the few, but held in common, to help us find a different politics away from fear and toward shared belonging. We chose the jail as a point of disruption to make the gears of the deportation machine grind so loud that they can hear it in Augusta and Washington, to create the conditions where others who once looked away are forced to choose. And this is already happening. Elected officials are here tonight, not as spectators, but participants in that emerging Maine. So if you believe in democracy, not as a performative or empty procedure, but as shared power, the time to act is now. Not next session, not after permission, now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Larry Adrian.
Yeah, let me indicate that at 7:45 we're done, so you and maybe one.
I'm going to make up for his overtime. Larry Adrian, Falmouth, Maine. I've lived in Maine since late 1970s. It's so ironic to me that this meeting and all the meetings in Washington begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, where we pledge to have liberty and justice for all, and just the opposite is happening. These are really difficult times. I hope you feel empowered. I've never been to one of these meetings. This is so impressive and so empowering, and you have so much weight. Listen to the people. We believe in liberty and justice for everyone. That's all.
Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Eshankojo. I'm the founder of United Faith Alliance. I'm a DSP, I'm a CRMA, I'm a CNA.
You live where?
I live in Portland here.
Thank you.
My house is not far from here. I have to commend you for your good work. And also I prefer that you listen to the people. Me standing here not to do anything, just to urge you guys to do the right thing, because I have worked with the community, I've heard them, I've listened to them. Most of these people are very scared and afraid even to step out of their homes. Families are not going out to do what they have to do to support their families as well. I got arrested when I was in America. I was in Houghton. I was arrested, jailed, and then finally, because I started as a DSP, so I was trained as a CRMA by my CPR in the Cumberland County Jail. I saved a life. The officer gave me a citation. You see, we are dreamers. We are here to make a better life. We are here to earn something for ourselves, and then also help the community or help the country to do something better. I mean, we do something better for ourselves. So fast forward the case. I came out, I became CNA, I want to be a nurse and also help as well. But you see, I'm here just to also tell you guys that when people are afraid of stepping out, it's serious. It's something that I've worked with them, I've been with them. It's very, very serious. You know, that they can't even step out, people are following them, they call me, and it's like, what can we do? Thank you. And I'm like, stay inside, don't go anywhere. These are very little things that maybe we will take for granted. I'm a citizen, fortunately, but others are not. They are here they're here on asylum basis, they are here just to seek a refuge. But again, deporting them is another problem, because either you are giving them out to their countries to consume or be killed, or also they have nowhere to go. So it's very important that we have to take this is very important, very seriously. You know, I worked 3-4 jobs to make end living, which I thought America was a place that when I come, I've high hopes of America, you know. But yes, I do. But I do more than what I'm doing, because I'm fortunate. I'm very fortunate. But other people are not. So I really want you guys to look into these things: the contract, deportation. Let's make this place safe haven for everybody to live in, so that we can aspire. There's some people out there that they want to do more than what we are doing right now. You know, so listen to our people. We voted people into power to be our mouthpiece, but not to be give us up to others. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I just noticed there's people that have been standing in line for eternity, and if possible, I wonder if we could extend another 15 minutes and ask that they all be brief. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Thank you very much, sir. Hi, my name is Katya Frometh. I am 17. I live in Yarmouth. I believe that is Mr. Gordon's district. And I'm here on behalf of a very dear friend of mine who came to America from the DRC when he was 12 years old. He traveled through the Darien Gap, which is an unpaved area from Colombia to Panama. And on that trail, you see really horrible things. You live through really horrible things. And to this day, he is one of the sweetest and most hardworking people I know. He just graduated high school, and he started college as a junior because he had so many credits, because he worked so hard in his school. He does not have the right papers to make him safe from ICE, and because of that, every time I get a phone call from him, my heart just sinks, because I think, oh God, is he going to tell me that he's unsafe now? He just supported me when I was going through really tough times in my life. He was the one who came to my house, knocked on my door every morning and said, okay, Katya, come on, we're going for a run. We're going to get you up. We're going to get you moving. We're going to make this a good day. And so I feel just such a deep need to stand up for and support him. And I think that you guys can support him too by breaking this contract with ICE. So please do so. Thank you very much, folks.
Yep. Excuse me.
Ma'am,
Yes.
thank you for speaking. Could I suggest you ask your friend to call the main law school where they have a clinic? He needs to get his paperwork going.
Yeah, he's trying.
Yeah. No, they can help him at the law school.
Commissioners. Thank you for being here today. My name is Jordan King. I'm a Jewish American woman and a resident of Portland. And I must emphasize that I am not a Zionist, since the two tend to be conflated. I grew up learning about the horrors of the Holocaust. One of my family's close friends is a Holocaust survivor. From age 9 to 11, Max Amichai Hepner lived in a chicken coop with his family in the Netherlands, fearing the Nazi invasion of Amsterdam, and they had to flee. Moments like this one and the decisions that were made are how one of the greatest atrocities of the modern day started. To remain in this contract represents the slow, painful erosion of our human rights and our constitutional rights. It has been demonstrated that people are often detained without due process and without evidence of their citizenship status. American citizens, our fellow Mainers, are in jail right now, away from their families for crimes that they didn't commit. And this is a grave injustice. My question to you is this: where does it end? Where does it end if we do not act now? If we do not exercise our constitutional right, the very foundations of our country's birth, to resist the threat of tyranny as it stands on our doorstep. Thank you for your time and attention, and please remember, you hold the precedent in your hands. I leave with one final statement. Even if the state law overturns the vote today, how do you stop from sliding down a slippery slope? Create friction.
Good evening, Chair Gordon and Commissioners of the Cumberland County Commission. My name is Ruben Torres. I serve as the Advocacy and Policy Manager for the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition. I've submitted my testimony online, so I'll just try to summarize to allow other folks to have an opportunity to speak. Merck is not here as neither for nor against the contract, but we're here to provide additional context to some of what you've been hearing here today, and some folks outside of the building today as well. We are here because we believe that there is a central issue and a heart of the problem with this today. Under current practices, deputies may share information with ICE if they believe someone may be an illegal immigrant. At first glance, this may seem innocuous. But what does it mean in practice? How does one determine who looks like an immigrant? The truth is that this is certainly subjective, that it's based on perception, bias, assumptions, clothing, where someone lives. In effect, this policy outsources immigration enforcement to individual judgment calls made in the moment rather than on law or evidence. This effect translates into an erosion of public trust. Immigrant communities and those perceived to be immigrants now experience local law enforcement as a possible threat rather than a source of protection. And our local law enforcement officials are not equipped to determine immigration status on the ground and reliably. And relying on appearances or intuition effectively institutionalizes profiling. It transforms routine policing activities into civil immigration enforcement without oversight, policy clarity, or accountability. Routine traffic stops, license checks, and calls for service, everyday encounters that can happen to any one of us, become potential entry points for federal detention for individuals who have committed no crime. I will note here that over half of the ICE detainees in the Cumberland County Jail are non-criminal. And this concern is real, and it's happening to our neighbors, and it's happening here in Cumberland County. We have an opportunity to correct the injustices and help protect our neighbors and make sure that we are here for each other. Maine's communities, immigrants and non-alike, want to live without fear, to trust law enforcement, and to engage in civic life fully. Thank you for taking the time to hear my words, and thank you for your time and consideration on this effort.
Good evening. My name is Chena Immel. I'm a resident of South Portland, and I'm here as an ally to support ending the ICE contract. No amount of money can justify what ICE is doing to our communities. The role of government and law enforcement is to protect and serve the community, not to terrorize us. I think I can speak for everyone here when I say that we are not afraid of our neighbors. We have become afraid of our government
and our law enforcement officers, and that is not okay. ICE is not keeping our communities safe. They are the ones terrorizing people by carrying out racist and fascist directives. And by collaborating with them, we are complicit in that harm. We are already on stolen land. I don't think descendants of colonizers have the right to kick anyone out of this country and tear anyone away from their family. I am asking you to end this contract to protect the safety and the rights of the people that you represent. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Tannhauser. I'm a resident in South Portland. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I have important things to say, as I'm sure everyone in this room does, despite whether they've taken the time to speak or not. I'm a white woman. I have enormous privilege, and at the same time, I maybe 7 years ago stood on the streets in Portland and watched as someone jumped out of a black SUV, walked up the street, held someone at gunpoint, handcuffed them, and put them in a van and drove them away. It was terrifying. I hope none of you ever experience that yourself. I don't expect you will, and I hope you never are in a situation where you see that happen to someone else. And this is happening, and it will happen more. I can guarantee that. And it is only because of the work that I do that I was in a context where I witnessed that. I want you each to take a moment and think in your own lives, how many people of color do you have close to you? How many people who speak fluently in other languages, where they will be speaking that language in a grocery store, where they will be targeted? Are these people in your lives? If not, I ask you to use your privilege to speak for the people who are unable to keep themselves safe because the government is eroding. When you ask anyone who has grown up in a dictatorship in another country what it was like, they talk about the visceral experiences that we are experiencing, the people being taken away, the media being silenced. This is an opportunity for you. Please, you can do this. There's no reason you can't do this. Don't wait for history to look back and have this opportunity when you could have kept your children or your grandchildren, your neighbor's children, or the people of color, the people you couldn't speak to because you didn't speak their language safer. We have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. We each need to do what we can, and you have a vote that you can take. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm Dr. Allison Dart. I'm a psychologist licensed in the state of Maine, and I live and work in Portland. I'm here to talk about kids. I specialize and work with very small children, usually under the age of 6. The early years, the birth to 3 range, is known as a sensitive period. It's a really important time for early development, cognitive growth, social emotional growth. When children are separated from their primary caregivers for more than a day in this period, it impacts them, sometimes permanently. When something scary happens to children in this age range, it tends to impact them often permanently. Children are being separated from their primary caregivers. They're watching their primary caregivers be dragged from their homes, attacked in the streets. Children themselves are being tied up. And it's going to impact them for the rest of their lives. This is not only important because they're going to have developmental, cognitive, social, emotional impacts for the rest of their lives, which is horrible. That's plenty to move me. But we've talked a lot about money tonight. The financial impact of that is also really important, something that has to be considered. So I urge you when you're thinking tonight that there is no movement that is, too symbolic or too small. This means something, and try to think of the children of Maine when you're making your decision. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily Troll. I'm from South Portland. I'm really nervous to be speaking to you tonight. as I'm sure a lot of other people have been. But we're here because this is really, really important and matters so much to us. And I'm just here to say that I'm a musician and a gardener and have no expertise in this important stuff that you guys are really doing the work on for us. And as a community member and a neighbor to many immigrants, I can see what an amazing opportunity this is for us to make a statement and make a difference and slow the forces that are creating so much fear and pain right here in our communities. And thank you so much for your consideration, and I really urge you to break the contract.
Stephen Sharp, Bracken Street, Portland. I urge you actually.
Steve will be the last speaker.
I urge you not to vote for this amendment. It's not really an amendment, really a resolution, because that's what you're resolving to do. But I urge you not to do it. You need to work with the federal agencies that provide connections to the jail, and it's just it makes no sense for you to vote for this. Before the amendments were made, I had counted what I thought was going to be the vote, and I see that the amendments are going to allow certain members of you to vote in a different way, and I presume that you pass these amendments to create a air of allowing you to do so without actually doing anything. You're basically saying we're not going to do this, but we're not going to give up the money, but we really don't want to do this, so, which is not really kosher. So I urge you not to support this amendment tonight.
Only one more.
You got one more? Got one more person?
There's one guy.
Okay. Go ahead.
Commissioners, thanks very much. I'll make this quite short. You heard earlier, maybe 10 minutes ago, that according to ICE detention statistics, specifically to Maine, specifically to Portland, less than half of those currently held in CCJ, Cumberland County Jail, are in fact held on criminal grounds. So I would submit that in interaction with the state, should they challenge your decision tonight, should you make this decision, and I hope you do, it would be easy enough to say, well, your law, your statute says we must accept those who are lawfully held. We already know that we don't know if they're lawfully held, and we know from the ICE detention, their own document, that half of them are not lawfully held. I'm a defense attorney. My clients do not go to CCJ if there's not probable cause for an arrest. And the sheriff assures us tonight that nobody has invigilated whether or not there is lawful cause. I'll just leave it at that. I think that I would not, for all of you, be apprehensive about colliding with the state's attorneys, because I think you have strong grounds to demand compliance with this contract. And it's not evident to me that currently the federal government is in compliance. Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the testimony section of this action. Now, do we have any?
Can you reread the motion, please?
All right. The motion is to authorize the city manager to provide notice no later than December 1st, 2025, to amend the U.S. Marshal Prison Operation contract to reflect the exclusion of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, detention.
No discussion?
Yeah, discussion.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't usually write my comments, in case you've never noticed, but I did tonight, because I want to make sure I hit on a few things. And I just want to thank everybody who's shown up consistently since, July, June, whatever it was. I appreciate the many, many phone calls I've received and the many, many emails. And they were written by folks on both sides of the issue, but mostly in favor of canceling the contract. I've been an elected official since 2012, first in municipal government, now as a county commissioner, and I have to tell you that this has probably been one of the most difficult decisions of my elected career for two reasons. First, if we amend the contract with the federal marshals to exclude ICE, then under Maine law, we are still required to accept anyone presented by quote unquote law enforcement in the county jail. The difference will be that it is most probable that we will have the ICE detainees presented to us, but we will not receive compensation for their care. Sadly, while the federal government compensates $150 per day, the state only compensates us approximately $25 a day. This is a huge problem, as you can well imagine. We are looking at the possibility of losing over $2 million in jail operating costs, a liability that will potentially raise property taxes for those I represent in this county.
Who cares?
Hey,
Hold on.
we paid
Let me
attention to you.
finish.
It's us.
Let me finish.
Your turn.
Jail costs are mostly fixed, and I asked about closing a pod, but I found it would have minimal impact. Property taxes are regressive, meaning it is not based upon ability to pay, but on the value of your property. It is devastating for many folks, and I recognize that I have an obligation to those folks. Second, as I mentioned above, state statute 25 MRSA section 1502 and the jail standard P32, if I've got that correct, requires that we cooperate with law enforcement when they present us with people to be held in custody. I am not a lawyer, but I interpret the statute to imply that the law enforcement entities bringing persons to the jail are legitimate, i.e., work within the boundaries of the Constitution and laws of this land. I would venture to argue that currently the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency is not following due process, nor are they acting in a professional manner, unlike our own local law enforcement, like our sheriffs who are sitting here. And they don't act professionally when they detain people who might or might not be in this country legally. Frankly, I think they act like rogues, but that's my opinion. Until they act within the confines of our national and state laws, I have trouble considering them legitimate. And I'm a former Latin teacher, and you learn over time, if you get to know me, that I like to follow, Latin. The word Latin means following the law. Hence, in my opinion, they're not able to bring people to the county jail. Humanity comes first. Having come to that conclusion, I am going to vote to exclude ICE from the terms of the county contract with the U.S. Marshals. Now, don't you feel bad about yelling at me?
Sorry.
I ask that all people who agree with me contact their state legislators, some of whom have spoken and are here, and the governor's office and insist that the state compensate counties fully for the cost of running our jails.
We will do that.
This would go a long way towards eliminating the pressure on our budgets and the need to even consider whether or not cooperating with an agency such as the current manifestation of ICE is necessary. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else have comments?
Well, I've got plenty.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, first I want to thank everyone who shows up to these meetings and all the emails. Seems like my phone dings every time it goes off, and it's dinged a lot today. And I do appreciate the contacts. That said, however, I represent District 2 of Cumberland County, which is 9 towns, starting at Harrison, very upper end of the county, all the way down the corridor to Falmouth. Consequently, I have talked to many, many people, which you have all forced me to do, and I appreciate that, don't get me wrong. And I'm a member of the Cumberland Farmers Club. I'm not a farmer by any means, but I believe in the system there. I've been a member for over 40 years. I work fair every week. I also work Freiburg Fair. This year gave me plenty of opportunity to talk to a lot of people. I will say, once you get out of the greater Portland area, my district becomes very conservative people. Do I like the methods that ICE uses, as we've been told how they operate is true? No. I have a lot of questions and what they do and how they do it. I do have a question, however, and no one has seemed to address it, all the things I've heard. If somebody walked into this country or came to this country illegally, is that a crime? According to federal statutes, it is. It's at minimum a misdemeanor. I have a real problem with people being here illegally just as much as I have a problem somebody coming into your house and sitting there and say, hey, I want to live here because it's a nice house. That's trespassing. And to me, something needs to be done along that line. Whether ICE is doing it right or not, I don't know. My other concern is if we cancel this contract and go through this process, I think there is a great amount of interest, or will be on the part of ICE, to move a lot of these detainees elsewhere. If they come from other states, that's a different issue. But I am concerned, the latest report, I think there's 20 some odd that are from the greater Portland, Lewiston, Auburn area in our jail. If these people are moved out of state, I'm afraid they're gonna lose access to their own families. I'm also hearing, and multiple people have said, we have many, many legal avenues for them. University of Maine, legal system, etc., money advocate groups that have spoken here in the last meeting we had. So I have a real concern with canceling the contract from that aspect, that I think they will lose touch. They will go somewhere else. And I'm worried about that. I firmly believe immigrants make our nation stronger when they come here legally. I've been a past state representative. In fact, one of the gentlemen mentioned he worked on Representative Criminal Justice Committee. I was also a member of that committee when I was in the legislature. I think from that standpoint, there are things the state needs to do, financially wise, etc. I think the state needs to step up to the plate and figure out how the jails get compensated. Years ago, when I was in the legislature, Governor LePage mentioned in a meeting one day, well, maybe the state will just take over the jails. And I said, Governor, do not say that, because I know of at least 2 sheriffs, including my own, will probably drive the key to the jail as fast as he can go to bring it up to you. It is a big problem. But all of that said, I I am not going to vote to end the contract. I think there are ways, should we negotiate with ICE, should we talk to ICE, maybe we can figure things out, but I'm worried about the people who are housed there currently. I know there are many legal avenues for legal immigration, working with authorities at the border, and I also did some research regarding immigration judges. You can voluntarily leave the country and then legally apply to come back. There are legal ways to become a citizen. I've been to many naturalization ceremonies over the years. We usually have one in Wyndham about every year. And I'm honored to be there and shake their hands and congratulate them for becoming citizens. Thank you.
First, I appreciate the amendments that were made and the text of the order that's before the commission. As I understand it, the the county manager is being authorized to discuss with the Marshal Service the deletion of ICE from the listing of the agencies which are allowed to access the county jail. That, as a freestanding proposition, does not necessarily imply that anything further would be required, but as a practical matter, I think every member of this commission has great confidence in Mr. Gailey, and Mr. Gailey will do what he understands is the tenor of any action that we should take now or sometime in the next couple of months. And that to me means that I believe the pending motion reflects the controversy that has now existed for several months here, and has been the subject matter not only of these public meetings, but of a respectable amount of research by a number of the commissioners. You just heard Commissioner Tyler talking about
It's a public
various
hearing.
aspects.
Could you talk to the public loud enough, please?
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm hard of hearing.
somebody's yelling outside too. I'm sorry, sir. I'll try to keep my voice up. What I'm saying is this, and I'll get straight to the point. It's my opinion that we are locked in a very unpleasant and largely unacceptable situation. The immigration laws I'm going to give our friends outside a chance to chant away. I hope you can hear me still. We have a history of immigration law that started with the Chinese in the 1870s. They were ruthlessly discriminated against. Those were national laws passed by the United States Congress and endorsed by the President. That process was repeated time after time after time. In Maine, we were not immune from that. The Ku Klux Klan almost elected a governor in the 20s, and the state of Maine was legendary as a conservative enclave for several generations. And it's only recently, and it's mostly in Greater Portland, and now in some of the other cities in the state, that this conservative, kind of almost reactionary state of public policy has faded. All along, things like minor reforms, like DACA. You remember DACA? That never passed. Do we know why? Do we know why, for instance, when the Republicans were in charge? Do we know why when the Democrats were in charge? The outcome is that this has been ignored by public policy people in the federal government, and now we are faced with a reactionary administration which devotes their time to try to create political futures out of the misery and cruelty that they are enjoining to their victims of the week. They're victims of the week, as we all know. Today are immigrants, but tomorrow who knows who it is. I will say this, though. This suggests that we should ban ICE in any way that we can from existence in Maine, and I have a very great problem with that. The problem that I believe exists is twofold. First, modern ease of communication, largely through the internet, means that what has been a sleeping issue of difficulty that has been very much on the fringes of American policy is now brought forward for political purposes and is complemented and enlarged by access to the internet and the
We can't hear.
I don't care. I can shout. If anybody can't hear me, put their hands up and I'll shout louder.
Let's just get to the point. What's your vote?
3 minutes. I'm not gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna vote the way I am, and it's important to me that you know that. In the county jail today, there's something like 20 people who are Maine residents. There's some from Portland, others from York County, up and down the state. It is true that we know of what we think are atrocities, of poor behavior by public safety personnel. These are kind of, if you think about it, these are the patrol officers of ICE. They are not acting without distinct instructions from their supervisors. I was on the Portland City Council. I've been involved with, I think, only 2 sheriffs, one of whom is now the mayor of Portland, and with his chief deputy all those years, who is now the actual reigning sheriff after being elected, maybe re-elected too, I think. The bottom line is this. I was disturbed to hear that there's at least one, if not more, corrections officers who are allegedly calling ICE to tip them off that there might be a live one in the jail that they could deal with and attempt to deal with. And I hope that there is a command staff at the county jail that disapproves of that process, certainly while somebody is on duty, and that is not their business. And I think it should be regulated because they don't know anything meaningful about immigration law. I'm a lawyer, and I will tell you this, I think it's critical. People who are detained in Maine, who are from Maine, have access to their family. They have access to a fairly systematic legal representation system which could be improved. And I have spoken with the county manager about ways in which that could happen and means by which we could establish an ongoing process to attempt to address unfairnesses that we see. If you read the Portland paper, I think it was the day before yesterday, it might have been before that, the ACLU has pointed out that part of what what ICE is doing is bypassing the legalities that exist under immigration law in a certain way. Commissioner Tyler has said, well, if you cross the border, that is a crime. And actually it is. It's a misdemeanor in most instances. It is not a crime if you're seeking asylum. And it's hard to look at two people and say, this one here is legal, this one here never applied for asylum, therefore not legal. Or there are a variety of other ways that changes. That kind of information needs to be ventilated and available, and we have judges who decide whether there's probable cause. We have judges who decide whether detention is lawful. And among the immigration provisions, and this is plenty complicated, don't get me wrong, among the provisions is you have the right to bail if you meet certain criteria, which means you didn't just arrive yesterday, or if you did, you didn't apply for asylum yet. Asylum people are guaranteed presence in the United States as a result of emerging from circumstances that are dangerous. So my conclusion looks like this, and believe me, we have now received some fairly expert opinion to the effect that it would be a grave disservice to the people who are in the jail or those who come into the jail if they're from Maine and they are shipped out of state because we have interfered with access by ICE to the... I'm sorry, would you please shut up while I talk? I don't think it's right. I didn't interrupt anybody, and this is really important because what you have advocated for tonight would do grave harm to a lot of people. And you may hate ICE, and I certainly do. I blame their management. They are poorly managed, and their tactics are inconsistent with American law. But the people who are in the jail need as much help as we can arrange. And so my intention would be that we would deal with the manager, I think we should create a committee that would be active in trying to understand what happens next. The ACLU has an action going in Massachusetts, which is part of the district in which we live federally, that would prohibit ICE from simply relying on entry as a means for retention. Most people who are here, other than people who have been convicted of serious crimes, should have the right to bail, and we should be ones, in my opinion, who will promote that. In order to do that, we should not be interfering with lawful activity by ICE just because we want to make some kind of a statement that will be ignored in very short order. So I do not intend to support the ending of the contract, at least not now. It is a very close call for me, but I do not think that immediate harm to people that we already can identify justifies taking this step at this time. We have another meeting in a month, we have another meeting in 2 months, we have a new session of the commission beginning in January. So we have plenty of time to work on this issue.
You don't have time. You don't have time.
Thank you for your comments. So my vote would be
Judges!
Shame on you.
Thank you very
We don't
much.
have enough judges to litigate all this for these people.
Enough. Sheriff.
So I'm going to clarify a couple things. One comment about letting ICE know was taken out of context. Police officers have discretion, and we don't limit the discretion they have. About a month ago, there was an individual seen shooting, or at least pointing a gun at a drone. And that was a news story, and apparently it's illegal to shoot drones out of the air. I learned that on TV. I'm sure FAA would find that illegal. So if we were called, we would take the information, refer it to FAA. They decide whether or not it's a crime or not. Same thing with ICE. If our people are operating and they have contact with somebody, I'm not going to tell them, you can't write it down and send it to ICE. That's their discretion to do. So it's not people in the jail notifying ICE. We share our information with ICE once a week, like we share it with DHHS and a bunch of other ACLU and now the university. We share that information because we're transparent. To sound like a broken record, there are a number of titles that obligate me and my staff to accept inmates. These are not something that just occurred. As I've mentioned, we've done it for 30 years. Our process hasn't changed. What has changed is the administration, and the focus of the administration has changed. That's why we're all here. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 25 years ago, we were holding ICE inmates, and we didn't have this. Title 30A 1510 relates to this under definitions. Title 30A 1554 talks about federal prisoners. Title 25 MRS 1502 talks about our obligation. And then, as you mentioned, Maine Department of Corrections Standard P32 requires us to accept inmates. Now, if you don't believe me, that's all right. Look it up. It's there. You folks have a discretionary challenge in front of you today. My operation is non-discretionary. In fact, under the federal inmate, it says we shall accept all state and federal inmates. This is nothing new. Been doing it for 30 years. Heard a lot about integrity. This is the law. I was voted in to enforce the law. If I break this law, what other laws could I break with apparent impunity? Can I drink and drive?
Segregation was legal. It was the law.
So,
Would you stop?
and I won't break the law. I won't break the law.
So you would stop a black person going into a bathroom? Hey!
Due process. Due process. Let's talk about due process a little bit. And I'm not an attorney, but my understanding of it in 39 years of law enforcement is this. Due process starts after the arrest is made and somebody's in jail. So, you know, us affecting due process at the jail is an impossibility. We're not attorneys. We're not judges. Due process is handled by attorneys, prosecutors, and the judges. So the reality is, regardless of what happens today, I've been right up front for the last 5 or 6 months that I will follow the law until the law is changed. If people have an issue with it, and I have some issues of laws that I don't necessarily agree with, but I have to enforce them, then you got to get in touch with your legislators and your congressional representatives. I've yet to see a congressional representative in here, you know, trying to defend the county. So the bottom line is that whatever you decide to do, that's your discretion. I will continue to hold ICE inmates until the law is changed. Or a court decides it's unconstitutional and tells me otherwise. Thank you.
Smith.
Thank you. I'll start by just saying thank you to everyone who's been here speaking out over the past couple months. I want to thank everyone for their phone calls and emails. It's really important that people are engaged in this issue, regardless of how you feel about it, whether you'd like the contract to go away or keep it. Hearing from people is what it's all about. This is why I'm happy to serve and why I'm happy to be here. So I want to thank everyone for that. Secondly, I want to look my fellow commissioners in the eye and say thank you for the work you've done thus far. I know this has been a difficult situation, and I respect all of you, and I think there's been great respect among us, even though there's been some hardship. I think there's been courtesy and respect, and however the vote goes, it's not going to change how I feel about my desire to be respectful. I do hope people think about the vote before hands are raised. I want to explain my deliberation on this complex and nuanced matter. I feel the need to say when the contract was renewed, which I was a part of, had I known then how ICE agents would be exerting their roles and power, I would have never voted for this contract. As we all know and have experienced, times have changed. Times have changed from 30 years ago. These drastic and harmful outcomes and impacts to our communities compel me to recognize our new reality and to stand firm in calling these actions out as racist, possibly illegal, and not keeping with our U.S. Constitution. We, the people, deserve better. I'd like to clarify my thoughts by looking externally first and then internally. Externally, because of the recent changes of how ICE operates, we are now living with fear and mistrust of law enforcement. It's a shame. These actions create an environment of chaos and confusion and division within our communities. And we are better than this, I believe. The negative impacts and ramifications of the current contract are, in my mind, unacceptable. And I hope some of my fellow commissioners believe that too. We are here to protect and create a sense of safety within our communities. We should not be part of creating terror, mistrust within our neighborhoods. Our contract is a discrete document, but it does not exist in isolation, nor can it be rationalized as such. It has real day-to-day consequences. Externally, we are told that according to Maine state statute, that the jail must take all prisoners. To the extent that a positive vote in this matter will end ICE activity in Cumberland County, this remains to be seen. Sad to say. Now for my thoughts from an internal perspective. Based on new information and additional information that the commissioners have requested, we have been able to understand the majority of the arrestees are not from Cumberland County or the state of Maine, but from other states. Many from our neighboring New England states. A fact that has been brought to light because of curious commissioners and curious community members. Why are our tax dollars being used to house so many, in relative terms from 2 or 3 years ago, for out-of-state arrestees? I'm all for smart, thoughtful immigration reform, but the gross misuse and the broad brush actions that are involved in rounding up non-white people, are an example of racist racism in the country and a misuse of power. I have major concerns that we are not able to adequately review what is actually taking place in the jail. Are prisoners being held illegally? Are prisoners being held beyond their legal release date? Are prisoners able to receive legal and support services in a timely manner, which oftentimes is urgent based on the speed in which transfers and the movement of arrestees happens from facility to facility? The secrecy that the federal government relies on to withhold information regarding arrestees, especially those with civil offenses, is over the top. Because of this environment of secrecy, it erodes our trust in government. It erodes our trust in all entities of government. Lastly, I've been adamant in my concerns for safety, not only within our neighborhoods, but in the jail. We have been struggling since COVID to hire adequate, competent, trained staff. We have made some strides, but currently we are well understaffed, particularly with the influx of ICE arrestees. Our sheriff has said on multiple occasions, our jail staff is not trained in federal immigration law, nor does the academy cover immigration in its curriculum or certification. We are putting our staff, our jail staff, in a potentially dangerous position. Not having enough staff leads to not being able to adequately escort or provide assistance when visiting attorneys or immigration services who advocate are unable to see a person. Forced overtime to cover the jail 24/7 with increased jail population is creating a potential unsafe environment and legal liability for us. From the perspective and the reality of safety within our jail alone, I believe continuing the contract with ICE is detrimental, harmful, and irresponsible. With safety being our highest priority, I ask my fellow commissioners to consider the risk based on the current climate and consider voting yes to end the contract with ICE. Will this really solve the problems? Probably not, but all about a first step. We have so many miles to go, there's so many issues involved, we all know it's complex, but a first step would go a long way. I ask you to consider that, my fellow commissioners. My last comment, and thank you for the length of my comments tonight. Although I feel like the iceberg of democracy is slowly melting into the vast ocean of trampled rights and a disregard for our U.S. Constitution, I want to remind all of us that the majority of the iceberg exists underwater. The underwater portion of an iceberg holds immense mass and energy. And with that analogy, I remain hopeful that change will come from this unseen mass and energy for the betterment of our communities and country. Stay the course. Thank you.
Well, now comes to my opportunity here, and you've heard just about everything I'm going to say. I'm going to just summarize my position then. As Commissioner Smith McRae indicated, that we need to talk to all the commissioners from the information that we've received from you. And believe me, I don't think there's a commissioner here that's not appalled by the actions of ICE, how they work, etc. On the other hand, I have to be very cautious because we are a government and we are run by the laws. And that is what really disturbs me and causes me angst. County commissioners do not have the authority to prevent ICE from housing detainees in our jail. They don't. There's no law in the state that allows us to do that. This responsibility is mandated by your state, our state, Department of Corrections. And one of the things that I quoted to our representative here was standard P32, which comes out of MDOC. And is strictly within the jurisdiction of the Sheriff's Department, as our sheriff has indicated, which operates under the aegis of the governor's office, not the county commissioners. So what you're seeing is the actions that ICE can take is nothing that we control. Additionally, revoking our federal jail reimbursement contract relative to ICE would not prevent ICE from housing detainees in the county jail because of these standards. It would simply transfer the financial burden from the federal government to the county taxpayer, increasing our costs by over 2.5 million annually, an estimated 5 to 7% rise in county property tax. That would be devastating for our median and low income families. Some of them would be driven right out of their homes. In essence, attempting to prevent ICE from using our jail by this proposed commission action would be futile and only result in our county's property taxpayers paying higher taxes. Again, the impact on the median and low income people would be disaster, in my opinion. If you really wish to address this issue, it's important to recognize that the proper channels and authorities for this action are limited in this state. Essentially, I would start with MDOC and then start working towards the legislature, as we mentioned tonight. And efforts should be directed accordingly to avoid unnecessary financial harm. That's the position that I see, and from the facts that I have gathered. Emotionally, I am, again, as I repeated, appalled at the actions that ICE has taken. And I have contacted our federal representatives on many occasions to say such.
Money over moral.
It's always all about the money.
What do you do with your moral?
Well, what do you want? Do you want to throw people out of their house?
Already happened.
They already did that.
It's going to happen more.
The property taxes,
The
it
only
just went up
certain
in
people
Florida.
matter.
Point of order.
Point of order.
All right.
Can I? Sure.
Shame on you.
Another
Shame
side.
on you.
I just want to advise the members of the commission that should the vote result in the failure to authorize the manager to do what is proposed to be authorized, I have a a series of issues. I don't think I necessarily need to run over them very much, but I'll do so very quickly to address some issues. I would propose by our next meeting that we have identified at least a process, if not a person, who could act as an independent ombudsman-type individual to work in the county jail and with detainees to assure that they are getting timely and comprehensive access to the facilities that are available from attorneys and from the clinic at the law school and any other resources they're able to identify. That may cost us some money. And I will say incidentally, whatever the budget impact of any change that we make has makes no significance whatsoever to me. So I think this would be a worthwhile expense for sure. I think there has been some issue about whether the staffing at the jail, as we sit today, especially because we have so many probationary COs, that we need to do better at making time available for someone to conduct the detainees to the conference rooms where they would meet with either the ombudsman or their attorney or both. I think that is an improvement that we have to study very closely, and I would hope the administration would, I know they already take that to heart, but don't give up. We've already talked about taking the need for changes in Maine law. I would hope we would be able to draft a proposed change in the law that we could submit for consideration by the legislature when they convene in January. And lastly, I think we should create an expert committee group that would be available to us, that would take it as their responsibility to understand the changing and evolution of legal decisions, some of which appear now to be generally favorable to a much better administration of the immigration laws in terms of the fairness in which they are administered. But in any event, to help us with anything else that comes to the fore as an issue for us to try to deal with. I've already indicated how I expect to vote on this particular proposal tonight. But if we can do all of these other things, perhaps my idea on this would not change. But if we cannot make progress on this, as I said before, incremental change is the only thing we can actually hope for. I respect the opinions of the commissioners who say this is not the day to do this in terms of the risks that would be involved in trying to exercise the ICE aspects of this contract. For those who are still listening, one of the concerns is that if we were to do that, the federal government would cancel the entire contract, and if they did that, then all Maine-related people would be incarcerated, hopefully not in the Alligator Alcatraz, but in some other place where they would be remote from the services they had. I neglected to mention one of my great concerns in my previous talk. There are hundreds of American citizens who are not yet 5 years old. They are the children of immigrants who may be here illegally or allegedly illegally or here illegally but not subject to deportation. All of those possibilities and several others exist. But those are citizens who will be deported as a function of staying with a parent or with their parents. We were told 2 years ago by people from the Maine Medical Center that they had been experiencing 500 births by immigrants who were not citizens each year. And we were discussing whether we could provide postnatal refuge for those people for a brief period of time that they were seeking. But those 500 per year, it must be a couple of thousand or more now, are citizens of the United States, and according to the Constitution, and of the state in which they reside, and we have a great responsibility to them, because among them all, they are among the most helpless. So, you know, I'm not satisfied with this particular motion. I do think that it could easily be self-defeating, but I'm committed to pursuing a better result for this entire situation. So I just wanted to give notice that I have that on my agenda, and frankly, I've already discussed it with the management.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate the creative ideas and the thought of where we can go from here and some improvements. I did some research as well about jail ombudsman, and LD 1962 was introduced in March of 2025. There's nothing that's going on with it. It's been pushed to another session. If we were to do that, we need, you know, rules and regulations and guidelines, and until that gets into place, I think a jail ombudsman is a little far out into the future. It exists in some other states, but currently it doesn't in the state of Maine, and we need that kind of background if we're gonna go in that direction. So thank you for the creativity, maybe down the road, but I'm asking, can we take the first step tonight? Can we do this?
Yes.
And there'll be so much things we don't know. I mean, unless we take a step, we won't know what we have to do next. If we continue as we go, it's the same old thing. And I'm not saying there's not a future. I'm still here. I'm gonna be around in 2026, and we'll see what happens. But I urge folks to take the first step. It's not perfect. Thank you.
Come on, Jim.
Yes. You can do it.
Come on, Jim.
You can do it.
I just have one question for my fellow commissioners, and I want you to ponder this. I forget who said it, but if not now, when? And I'm gonna leave it at that.
You can do this. Our community needs it.
I'm done talking.
Okay.
Done.
All right, so we'll call the vote.
Yep.
I would like a roll call vote. Catherine?
Commissioner Smith. Isn't it alphabetical? A roll call vote? Typically, Robert's rules, or no?
Either that or by district, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's only 5 of us.
Right, won't get too lost, thank you. Yes.
Commissioner Tyler,
No.
Commissioner Cloutier,
No.
Commissioner Caterina,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gordon.
No. The motion is
Truly. Let white supremacy win.
So,
Racism exists.
You don't represent Portland
Guys.
properly. All of Portland is here. James, who are you
I was gonna make a motion to
representing?
reconsider
We're all
that.
here
Vote
voting
is taken.
no, yes.
I'll second that.
Hold on.
Did I hear you correct?
I now move to reconsider the vote just taken.
I second.
Any discussion?
No, I now move to table the pending motion for reconsideration.
Table.
Table.
But we can't discuss.
Future meetings
Can't
are.
discuss. Those in
Well, I
No, you
could
discuss it when it comes
I
back
could
off the
discuss the
table.
reconsideration.
Yes.
So the comment on the reconsideration, is there new information that allows you to reconsider this evening?
Is that a question for me?
It sure is.
I expect that by this time next month, there should be some progress on the items that I just mentioned.
Despite what I said about the ombudsman?
Yes, and I'm not intimidated by the need to have state-created requirements of provisions for an ombudsman to act. And I'm glad to hear that there are such arrangements in other states, and we all own photocopiers, and we have the unfortunate access to, the internet and
Okay.
some of the social media that's available through that. I just think that we've got a long way to go on this. We shouldn't start out by taking out a bat and swinging at it in a way that we might regret. in 2 weeks or 3. So that's the motion. I do believe it's a motion that can be tabled and could come back next month for us to review. Not whether this is a valid motion, but whether it should be reconsidered in light of progress that our very capable administrators would be able to help us with as we go along.
I would remind the commission that this should be the final action on this, and if the tabling is passed, because we have a budget that has to be determined without knowing where we're going.
I do have a response for that. I've been instrumental in 28 different budgets for publicly elected positions, and that doesn't include a number for the University of Southern Maine and a number for the Maine Turnpike Authority. And as far as I'm concerned, unless we have an assurance of income, that we can have some confidence in, and Teresa is here to help us with that as we go along. It's not revenue that we assume is going to exist unless we know it exists. So that's just the way it is. You know, that's to me, that's the only prudent thing to do.
I'm not sure what you said, but
Unless we can prove we're going to have the money, we don't count it. That's all.
That's right, we wouldn't count it, which would mean that we would have a increase in our budget by 10 to 7% over above what we need.
Yeah, my idea would be that that has got to be not even a secondary idea, it's tertiary at best. So, you know, that's where we are.
All right, so where are we? We're at reconsideration first.
And I move to table the motion for reconsideration for 30 days until our next meeting.
Those in favor of tabling the motion to reconsider?
Table.
Table. Okay.
Jump back to the